Hey guys, I'm here today to chat about my year of reading in 2019 and my thoughts about it and how any of the thoughts I might have might impact my year of reading in 2020. This is all going to be pretty casual. I have a rough idea of the things I want to talk about, but I haven't really planned this through, so bear with me. And I do still have a cold, so also bear with me if there's more edits in this as I pause to cough or blow my nose or something rank. Okay? So there's that. So the opening stuff I should probably say is that it's the 30th of December as I'm filming and probably as this goes up, and I've read 99 books so far this year, and I have about 6 books I'm currently reading that I would like to blaze through and finish by the end of the year. And so I will not be uploading my favourite books of the year video until January. I find it fascinating that people upload it before the end of the year, and I love watching people's favourite books of the year video, but whenever they're uploaded before the 1st of January, I just sit there I have some questions, because does it mean you're just accepting that you're only going to pick up mediocre books for the last few days of the year? Does it mean that if you do pick up an amazing book, you're not going to mention it until your 2020 favourites? Or does it mean you're just not going to allow yourself to read anything in the last few days of the year? What's going on there? Because for me, this is my favourite time of reading. It's my favourite time in the year for reading because I work in an office, so I have all this time off until the 2nd of January. I usually get some new books for Christmas. I'm super excited. I'm don't make loads of plans after the few crazy days of actual Christmas. I try and be relatively free. And so I'm hopeful that I just finished a 5-star read, one of the best books I've read this year. And if I'd filmed my best books of the year yesterday, it wouldn't have made it because I wouldn't have finished it. So, that's just a little mini rant during this video. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are behind that. If you have done that, then explain yourself, basically. So, what I have done is I have gone through all the books I've read this year, and I have selected the ones that I have read so far that will make my best books of the year. I won't be telling you that today, so you're going to have to wait a couple of days, but I have allowed that to sort of shape my thoughts for this video. So, okay, I've read 99 books so far this year. 5 of them were rereads, and I love them all just as much. And then Harry Potter, I read a few Harry Potter books. I don't count those as my rereads. I mean, they are rereads, but I do it every year, so whatever. So, out of the 99 books I read, 14 were non-fiction and 85 were fiction. Every year I'm I want to read more non-fiction, and that is better than it's ever been, but it's still pretty dire. It's incredibly dire when you consider this. I have made a list of 8 books that are currently my favourite books of the year. More books may be added. And 5 of those are non-fiction. So out of the 14 non-fiction books I read, 5 made my best books of the year. That's bloody good odds. Out of the 85 fiction books I read, only 3 made it to my best books of the year. And, wait for it, those 3, none of them were as good as the 5 non-fiction. They're still brilliant, I still adored them, but they're not as good as the non-fiction. So that's me saying my 5 best books of the year were non-fiction, bearing in mind I only read 14 non-fiction books. So, what you've learned is that I love non-fiction. Now, caveat here, all of those non-fiction books were memoirs. So really what I'm saying is I love memoirs. And I think I've chosen some really phenomenal memoirs to read. I think the ones I'm going to tell you I really loved. A lot of people have given really high ratings to, and they're just really celebrated books. So obviously I'm not saying I love all memoirs, I love bloody brilliant memoirs. But it has made me realise that I seriously need to act on that and to read way more non-fiction. And I actually feel so in previous years I've done proper goals where I've been I want to do these 10 things this year, I want to do these 10 things this quarter, and I'm not going to do that this year. A couple of times I haven't done it, and I always think it's the right way to go for me. I get really pulled into doing list-based videos because they're really fun to do, and I love watching them. But actually, that's my phone, but actually I never follow through on them, and I find that quite a demoralising and boring video to film, being oh, I failed that one, oh yeah, and I didn't do that one either. So I just don't think there's any real point in it. And actually, for once, I genuinely believe that it's not going to be hard for me to pick up non-fiction, because right now, the last couple of weeks, I've pretty much been reaching for non-fiction like every other book because I've been loving it that much. So I think that will continue pretty naturally. And I have learn like 2 really great ways to access more non-fiction. So loads of the non-fiction I've really loved have been books that are published in the US and not yet published in the UK. And the way I've accessed those is twofold. Now, one of those is a bit more limited to me and perhaps isn't applicable to others. My library has an American division, which means that they have books that are published in the US but not the UK, and most of those books are focused on like American social issues, which is what I tend to read memoirs about, like memoirs that are personal stories but also include issues about gender, class, race, identity, immigration. Those are the things I love, and they stock loads of that. Now that's obviously something that's limited to me. It's not a thing that's going to be likely for you guys in your libraries if you're not based in the US. But the thing that probably is helpful to more people is that I've also been using Scribd. Scribd is an audiobook service, and I think I pay like $8 a month. I'm not even sure what that is in pounds. But I have found there's loads of audiobooks on there that are not published in the UK, again, that are published in the US and in other countries. And so that's been a really excellent resource for me as well. I love listening to memoir and audio when it's narrated by the author. I do think you lose something. You lose something either way. When you read a book in print that's a memoir, you lose the inflection of the author themselves, which is beautiful when you listen to it. But when you listen to it, you lose the ability to pause, to underline things, to turn down pages or put tabs in, or to reread sections. So for lots of these, if I listen to them on audio, I now want to read them in print, and vice versa. And I think that's something that is particular to me for memoirs, because I think they excel so much in both forms that it seems a shame to lose out on them in either form. So, as I said, 100% going to read more non-fiction. Another thing I've recognised is that the majority of books that have made it to my top list have been stories that are like less close to my own life. There's one book that's made it to the list which is my like bread and butter. So when people are like, what's your core reading thing? Like what's the thing that like really pulls you in, your buzzwords? My buzzwords are always going to be working class, British, like small town or rural stories where it's a female protagonist. Always going to be the case. And I've got one of those books on my favourite books of the year list, but in previous years there's been way more than one. And what I've realised is whilst I love those books, actually sometimes I let that love dictate more of my reading than it should, because what my favourite books of the year has taught me is that actually a really diverse array of voices has made it there, and I've loved hearing their stories so much. And okay, I don't personally relate to them because I haven't lived those experiences, but I've really loved hearing about them, and I've loved the way in which they've told them to me. So I don't always want to allow myself to be comfortable in reading things that I relate to, because yes, that's a wonderful thing and it makes you feel safe and recognised, but equally it becomes really really focused and allows you to just put the blinders on and not see the rest of the world. So that's something I've been aware of for years, but it's never been so obvious to me until recently. So read more non-fiction, be more aware of my reading, and ensure that I don't get stuck in this rabbit hole of just reading white, working class, British female voices. And the other big thing that I want to try and do, I've said this so many times, but I really want to reduce the amount of unread books I own. I think I'm currently sitting at around 110 unread books, and the reason I want to reduce that is nothing to do with space or the fact that I want to own less things, because I have no issue with being like a cluttered person. I think it's great that some people are really minimalist, but that's not me. Can't even say it, let alone do it. So the reason I would like to own less books is because I've said this so many times, but I find the longer I own a book, having not read it, the less I want to read it, because the initial excitement for that topic dwindles. And so I want books to be sitting unread for less time, and the only way that's possible is if I own less unread books. So what my plan is for 2020 is, and I've tried to do this before and failed, but I would like to reduce the amount of unread books every month by 5. That means that I should reduce my amount of unread books by 60, which means that if I added no new books, I'd end up with 50 books by the end of the year. 50 I'm happy with, 50 is fine for me. That means that I can't let any new books sit unread, they all need to be read. Now, I am aware that 2 of my goals sort of conflict with one another. Loads of the books I own that I haven't read, majority is fiction. I've got some excellent non-fiction books sitting waiting to be read, but majority is fiction. The majority is also by all those voices I described: white, British, rural, working class. So actually, I'm going to have to, in order to be the type of reader I want to be and read the sort of books I know I'm going to enjoy and get a lot out of, I'm going to have to not just focus on my unread books. And so I'm going to use the library loads, I'm going to use Scribd loads, I probably will buy some books as well. But I'm going to have to try and balance those two things. And like I said, you know, if I want to read 10 books a month, then that should be doable, to read 5 books a month that I currently own, and then to read 5 books a month that I've got from another resource, and then new to me books. But I just need to not allow myself to like overbuy. That will be where the problem comes, if I overbuy and then just, you know, I buy way more than 5 every month and I can't keep up. So I think it's doable. I feel quite confident about it at the moment, but I always say this, and then you get to a month where there's like loads of new releases and you want like 15 of them, so we shall see. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are on my thoughts, and please feel free to like encourage me in how to reduce my books while still trying to not just read like the same stagnant things. Always feel free to give me book recommendations, particularly for memoirs, in the issues I have spoken about or on the topics I've spoken about, and I will look forward to talking to you more. I'll be talking to you quite a lot at the moment because end of the year there's loads of things to talk about. And yeah, thanks, and I hope you're having a lovely end of the year and enjoying whatever you're reading. Bye.